Ageha was a fat, big-boned little spoilt noble boy who belonged to the Kikunoi family. He was disliked by the attendants at the mansion because of his epic meltdowns. Both his parents hated him and outright disowned him, but he was fortunate enough to be blessed with some epic abilities that would see him build the most powerful empire. One day, the overweight lad got a serious fever that lasted a whole week. While unconscious, he gained the ability to recall the memories from his previous life. Back then, he was a basic Japanese male who was into cooking, sewing, musicals, and home improvement, which was the stay-at-home mum entertainment starter pack. His hobbies alone showed how soft he was, so it wasn't a surprise when his weak ass lost his life during a heat wave and was reincarnated into this new world. With his newfound memories, Ageha started to make some lifestyle changes, like going on walks to drop some of that excess weight. The boy was built like a middle-aged man who needed to lay off the drink. Fortunately for him, he lost some weight, but he knew that he needed to work on his diet. He also realized that the attendants only put up with his shocking behavior because they were getting paid by mommy and daddy. Ageha's parents were never around to teach him how to behave properly and didn't even come to see him when he was critically ill. The only people that showed some concerns were the mansion servants, and they were likely praying he lived so that they kept their jobs. The lad understood that no one loved him. This was the exact opposite in his past life, where he had strong family and friend relationships. Ageha wanted to build the same in this new life. So he started by thanking his personal maid Rottenmeier for not abandoning him when he was sick. He also apologized for his terrible behavior and promised to do better. She was so confused that her face turned blue. Ageha repeated this for all the servants in the house, and to prove that he had turned a new leaf, he let them teach him all their jobs. After a couple of months, he won them all over as they accepted him. He also got to participate in his favorite hobbies. On a sunny day, he took a stroll in the flower garden and started to sing a song from his past, which caught the attention of Princess Hayaka, the goddess of healing and blessings. He later returned to the mansion for a lesson with his elf tutor called Romanov. It was disclosed that they live in the Kyu Empire, which was a peaceful nation, although a group of corrupt nobles have oppressed the common people. He bluntly told Ageha that the Kikunoi family are one of these noble oppressors. Romanov chuckled because he would get the sack if anyone found out he was saying such things. The world was also a fully fantasy one with monsters and magic. Ageha presented his tutor with the cape he wanted embroidered. Romanov was impressed with his workmanship and revealed that the mark he sewed warded off evil according to elf beliefs. Even in this world, he got roasted for having the skills one would associate with a good stay-at-home wife. Romanov asked him to open his stats and started laughing when he saw that Ageha didn't have the skills of a noble. Not only was his swordsmanship and archery rank garbage, but his horse riding was in that pile too. Although his cooking, sewing, gardening, and crafting were all A rank, and not to mention he had the special traits called Green Hand, which aided in getting good crop yield, and Blue Hand to help with other tasks, he still wasn't happy about being teased for having these skills. He essentially had the perfect skills for an excellent worker. Ageha was annoyed about this whole situation, but Romanov told him that he should be proud to have special traits at such a young age. The tutor finally calmed down and continued the session by moving on to the basics of magic, but Ageha struggled with the exercises. The lesson ended there, and he went back to the hidden garden to sing. This time, Hayaka manifested in front of him. The boy knew that he was in the presence of great power, so he went on one knee to introduce himself. The deity loved the respect, but was surprised that he was not aware of who she was. Ageha apologized and explained that he hadn't learnt about her yet. She forgave him because of his excellent singing and introduced herself. Hayaka decided to reward his melodies, but the fat boy felt guilty that he was about to get rewarded, even though he didn't create the song. The goddess could hear the conflict in his heart and told him that she's rewarding his singing. She wasn't surprised that the song came from another world, because she had never heard anything like that before. She went behind Ageha and unblocked the magical nerves at the base of his head. He complained about the pain, but she told him that he should be able to use magic now. She dismissed him in the meanwhile, but wanted him to come sing for her every day going forward. Upon his return, Romanov was speechless because magic was suddenly added to his skill set, and it was noted that he was beloved by Hayaka. She was the main deity of the Kyu Empire, because they are an agricultural nation. He wondered what the large lad did to get her attention. From his facial expression, Romanov suspected that it was some kind of secret. He simply told his tutor that she liked his singing. The reason he was now able to use magic was because she fixed his magic nerves as a reward for his song. Ageha returned to the garden to perform for Hayaka, who told him that he was off-key and needed to get a music teacher. The fatty noticed the weather suddenly change. The goddess thought he was interested in the heavens and offered to take him there. Romanov stepped out and got on his knees, but Hayaka was annoyed that he came before her uninvited. He begged for forgiveness and introduced himself as Ageha's tutor. He had to reveal himself when he heard her inviting his student to the heavens. He was concerned about the look on the boy's face when he asked about what he did to get her blessing. Hayaka understood that the look was because he didn't want to tell Romanov about his ability to retrieve his memories from his past life. So she covered for Ageha and explained that she taught him the song from another world. Romanov understood why he wouldn't want to disclose such information. The boy felt guilty that he made the goddess lie for him, but she assured him that all was well. However, she wanted Romanov to pay for his rudeness, so she told him to inform everyone that he was the one who taught him the otherworldly song. It wasn't unusual for an elf to know a song of the gods. She also ordered him to improve his singing and excused herself. The student and tutor returned to the mansion where Rottenmeier told them that his parents were coming. Ageha was excited to meet his parents because it had been so long since he saw them that he couldn't recall any of their features. He overheard Rottenmeier telling Romanov that his father married into the family, so he asked about it. The tutor felt like she should tell him more about his family history before he heard false rumors from outsiders. The maid was reluctant due to his age, but she told them to give her some time to think about it. In the meantime, Ageha showed Romanov the waist pouch he had been working on. The elf was impressed with his workmanship and used it as a moment to learn about magic. He explained the 5 types and how empowering the elemental spirits with magic allowed people to cast spells. Spatial magic was the only type that required one to empower all the elementals to be able to use it. This required a lot of magic that few possessed, so spatial magic users were rare. Romanov was fortunate enough to have such magic reserves. He demonstrated this by casting a spatial spell on the pouch. This turned it into an item box with the capacity of Ageha's wardrobe. Time was paused in the bag so food could be stored in there and it wouldn't spoil. The tutor traded it for a handkerchief that Ageha also made. The lad felt like this exchange favored himself too much, but Romanov told him that the elementals love things made by people who possess the green and blue hand skills. Someone wearing an item made by such a person needed less magic to cast spells since the items supply their own magic. The cape that Ageha embroidered for Romanov cut his magical cost by 50%. Adding the handkerchief would bring that percentage higher. The lad was speechless hearing this. He later went to sing for Hayaka and chose a song from an opera. The goddess was fascinated to learn about such a grand performance that she looked through Ageha's memories and loved what she saw. Hayaka gave him a giant peach as a show of gratitude for allowing her to look into his mind. Rottenmeier and Romanov were waiting for him when he returned because the maid wanted to tell him about his family. His dad came from a poor, noble house. They were so broke that finding food was a problem for them some days. Ageha's mother met him at a ball and fell for him, but he was already betrothed. She put pressure on both his and the fiancé's family till that marriage was annulled. They didn't want to make an enemy of the Kikunoi family, so he got married to her, and she became pregnant the following year. The law stated that a noble couple could not divorce once they had a male heir. The father took advantage of the law and took his former fiancée as his side piece. He went to live at another mansion and didn't give Ageha's mother any attention again. Currently, his father's side piece had passed away and left behind a 3-year-old boy called Regulus. Rottenmeier was ordered to make preparations for him to live with them. Ageha was worried that his dad would kick him out, but Romanov told the lad that the law prevented the child between a side piece and someone who married into the family from becoming the heir. His father would get shunned if he ever tried such a thing. The tutor was sure that he wanted Regulus to move to the mansion because he wanted the boy to learn from him. Ageha felt a little awkward about the whole situation after hearing his family's story, but as an older brother, he felt like he needed to look out for his junior. The boy understood why his father didn't like him, but he was curious about how his mother felt about him. She also resented him because she almost lost her life-giving birth to him. Ageha felt like he was doomed. The day of their arrival came, and everyone rushed around the mansion making sure everything was in order. Ageha went to go sing for Hayaka, but she could see that he was sad, so she dismissed him. The mother was the first to arrive with her servant Sebastian. She shouted for Ageha to be taken out of her sight because he disgusted her. The emotional damage was so bad that the lad had a glazed look on his face. He never expected such a visceral reaction. Sebastian chimed in and told Rottenmeier to get the kid away. The nun warned him to watch his mouth because Ageha was still the heir to the Kikunoi family. Romanov tried to cheer the pear-shaped boy up, so suggested that they go study. As they went up, the father came in holding Regulus. He gave Ageha a stern look before talking to Romanov. He wanted to discuss Regulus's lessons, but the tutor told him that it was time for Ageha's lesson. The dad said that teaching him was a waste of his time. He only cared about Regulus. The big-boned boy was numb at this point, so was okay with Romanov going while he studied alone. He ran off before his tutor could say anything and bumped into Rottenmeier. He realized that the reason why he couldn't remember their faces and voices was because he had never spoken to them before. Despite being told ahead of time, experiencing their hate for him hurt. He composed himself quickly and went to wash his face. On his way back, he spotted Regulus playing at the top of the stairs, so he hid to watch his half-brother from a distance. That was when he saw Sebastian push Regulus down the stairs. He leapt into action and grabbed his little brother while using his body to cushion his fall. The two locked eyes for a moment, and Ageha saw a future where Regulus rejected their brotherhood and eliminated him. He woke up in bed with his body aching. Alice apologized for not keeping her eye on Regulus. Rottenmeier slated her because she was the boy's caretaker. Regulus complained about being hungry, so Ageha told him to get his bag. He pulled out the peach, and it split itself into easy-to-eat pieces which had them amazed. Regulus took the first bite and was blown away by the amazing taste. He then shoved some down Ageha's mouth, and his taste buds agreed with his brother's statement. Regulus went to sleep shortly after, and Ageha told the maids and Romanov that it was Sebastian who pushed him. Since no one else saw him, he will be able to deny his guilt and talk his way out of it. The tutor also stated that he might try to put the blame on Alice because she's his supposed caretaker. Ageha promised her that he wouldn't let that happen. She was puzzled by how nice the people of the Kikunoi mansion were. She was told that Regulus was hated, and it was her job to protect him. Ageha admitted that he was a little jealous now that he has met him. Their father looked at Regulus with love, but scowled at Ageha, but he can't be mad at Regulus because of that. His terrible relationship with his parents had nothing to do with his little brother, so he told Alice to put her mind at ease. Alice got annoyed at Romanov when he said that Regulus would be heading to the capital in the coming days, so Ageha wouldn't have to worry about him after his short stay. She couldn't believe that the elf wasn't going to tutor Regulus. Rottenmeier tried to reprimand her, but she ignored the warning and stated that Romanov's master was the head of the Kikunoi family, so he must do as he says. Rottenmeier apologized for Alice's rudeness, and Romanov found it funny that she thought that a mere count could be his master. The maids excused themselves, and Alice knew she messed up. Ageha wondered just how important his tutor was. A short while later, the obese kid was surprised that all his injuries had already healed. Romanov recalled visiting Hayaka after his fall to explain his absence. She told the tutor to let him eat the peach and his wounds would disappear. They couldn't believe that one slice was able to heal him this much, and Regulus ended up eating the rest. Everyone got summoned by the parents, and they got a little annoyed when Romanov put Ageha on his lap. The father apologized for Alice's rudeness. The mother tried to disassociate herself from Alice's foolishness, as it's revealed that Romanov was a designated imperial hero. This turned to a messy argument between the parents. They hurled insults at each other, and the whole spectacle had less class than a Jerry Springer episode. Ageha noticed that Sebastian was enjoying the mayhem a little too much. Their exchange only came to an end when Ageha asked what a designated imperial hero was. Romanov explained that it was someone that the emperor had acknowledged as a hero based on their great service to the empire. The hero's only master is the emperor. They answer to no one else. Romanov refused to tutor Regulus because he simply was not interested. Not only that, with the way Ageha's growth rate and way of thinking changed so drastically, he didn't think he had the time to teach another person. We come to know that the Kikunoi family were housing Romanov, and he just decided to tutor Ageha out of kindness after hearing his story. Anyone asked by the hero for food and lodging must grant it for him since the law forbids them from refusing. Ageha realized that his hands were tied in terms of making his tutor teach his little brother, so he asked if it was okay for him to teach his younger brother whatever he had learnt. Ageha explained that it would be a great way for him to revise what he had learnt. He also wanted Romanov to be around to correct him if he made any mistakes. Sebastian wanted to know if allowing his brother to have such an education was a wise thing to do, because Regulus was a great source of pain for his mother. Ageha felt like this was between his mother and father. He also didn't think it was wrong to look out for his brother. Sebastian tried to hint that this could come and bite him in the future. Those words triggered the vision he saw of Regulus pointing his sword at him. Ageha made it clear that he understood the risks, and took this opportunity to confront the butler for pushing Regulus. He denied it, so Ageha told him that he would remember the kind of person he is and make a note of it in his will. He will give the document to Romanov to hold on to. The mother grimaced in anger hearing this. The big boy also told his father to pay the mother for Regulus's tuition, which should be from his own personal earnings. The Kikunoi family's fund were hers to begin with, so it wouldn't make sense for him to use that. He also told him to start his own business so that he could give it to Regulus and he can use that to start his own family in the future. Ageha started to get lightheaded from using his memories from his past life. He left Romanov and Sebastian to act as witnesses to whatever his parents' decision was. He wanted them to write it down so that it would be bound by law. He fainted after that and stayed in bed for a whole day with a fever. As soon as he recovered, he went to see Hayaka along with Regulus, and after the introductions, Ageha thanked the goddess for allowing him to tag along. He set up a cloth on the floor for them to sit. Hayaka noticed his paper crane as he rummaged through his bag and asked about it. Ageha decided to show her how to make one. She was so amazed and wanted to accept it as a gift. The boy didn't want to give it to her because it was made from normal paper so it wouldn't be durable. He wished he had thicker, more decorative paper. She told him to give her up to 3 days and disappeared. During that interval, Alice was getting educated on how to be a proper kikunoi maid, but the boys paid a visit to the kitchen to learn from head chef Maurice. Ageha wanted to make a not-sweet pudding he recalled from his previous life. The New World's culture was strange to him, but they had similar foods to what he was used to. He learned how to cook so that he could inconspicuously introduce new recipes from his old world. Ageha tried this process with Maurice, and after some trial and error, they figured out a way to make his not-sweet pudding. Regulus went for a little nap after all that hard work. This left Ageha feeling like he needed to come up with a curriculum for more structured learning. He started to gather information about the education system in the world. Rottenmeier told him that commoners never learn literacy or mathematics. Only noble and merchant households have that privilege. However, on rare occasions, the church or some kind noble will teach people. He already knew that his family had never done that. He recalled Romanov telling him that most of the people that live on Kikunoi land are farmers. The next demographic are adventurers. However, due to high taxes and little entertainment, most people moved elsewhere as soon as they make enough money in the dungeons. The Kikunoi Adventurers Guild and taverns are empty. Ageha was mortified hearing this and wondered if this was due to lack of education. He wanted to go and see how the people were living. The first thing for him was to make a curriculum for his younger brother that worked. He'd then use that as the foundation for a basic education system. This meant that the Kikunoi family needed to get to a stage where they could spend money on education. Ageha was also told that there were no kids' books because they are normally made by the tutor. The maid told him that the reason why Romanov hadn't made such books for him was because he was already capable of reading and writing, so there was no point. He thought it would be better to spend the time improving his magic and teaching him about the world. Ageha now understood why he found him so interesting. The fat boy felt like he was cheating because he had his memories from his previous life. Ageha used his creative skills to make an interactive book for Regulus. The little guy loved it and read it with Alice. Romanov had heard about his plan to educate the masses. He explained that he wanted to increase the talent pool in their borders, with hopes that it would kickstart growth. The elf also saw this as a great future investment, as Ageha would have more competent people serving him when he becomes lord of the land. The kid assured his tutor that he wasn't thinking along those lines. Internally, he believed that his little brother was going to end his life. Romanov teased him because it was almost impossible for him to get the funds to start his education plan. Ageha was irritated, but he knew his mentor was right. He took a break from that and went to see Hayaka, and she had Igor make the decorative cards. He almost had a heart attack because that was the deity for technology and some other things. The boy couldn't believe he was holding something made by him. Hayaka was a little upset that he knew who Igor was, and not her. He explained that he had been studying. He used the cards to make a paper butterfly for Hayaka. She was so ecstatic that she let him keep the rest of the paper. Ageha was interested in how he made them. She wasn't sure and only remembered him mentioning something about a printing block. This triggered him to think about its advanced form called letterpress printing. Hayaka confirmed that it didn't exist in this world. Having it would make it a lot easier to make plenty books, so he could share knowledge to the commoners. Ageha pled with her to tell Igor to make one for him. Hayaka didn't understand how that would benefit her. He told her that it would allow him to recreate the opera she saw in his memories. The performers would be able to read the scripts and songs he writes, which would enable them to act it out accurately. The audience would also understand and appreciate the show, increasing their enjoyment. They would be willing to pay to see it, and will therefore create an entertainment industry in Kikunoi lands, leading to economic growth. Hayaka was now interested, but Ageha had fainted because he tapped too much into the memories of his past life. He woke up in bed again, and Regulus started to cry with relief that he was fine. Alice came into the room looking for the younger brother and was surprised to see Ageha awake. The maid filled him in on the events that happened after he collapsed. Romanov was the one who found and brought him back home. Regulus ran to the tutor upset about what happened. Ageha was grateful to his little brother for getting help. Alice had heard that Ageha stayed up till late to make the books for Regulus and wondered why he pushed himself so hard for his blonde brother's sake. She thought that was why he collapsed. The boy told her that he loved sewing so much that he lost track of time. Alice started to get emotional that Ageha made such a sacrifice for Regulus, and she just didn't understand why he did that. So the big boy decided to tell her that he didn't think he would live a very long life. He didn't inform her about his vision, but instead used the near-death illness as the reason why he felt that way. He expressed his wish for Regulus to become the Kikunoi Lord when he meets his demise. Alice became an Ageha fan after hearing him out and promised to protect him and Regulus. She begged Ageha not to say that he won't live a long life. The maid went to tell everyone that he had awakened. Romanov came to check on him and gave more context to what happened. He was shocked to see that Regulus was guided to him by a portion of Hayaka's spirit. The goddess told him that Ageha was more prone to collapsing as an after effect of the life-threatening illness he survived. This weakened the connection between his soul and body. She promised to investigate his condition more thoroughly. Hayaka also gave him a 7-day break for him to regain his strength and learn magic. She also suggested he sing Regulus lullabies and have him start sword practice. Romanov disclosed that the goddess sensed some innate talent that could make Regulus a hero if honed. The fact that he didn't flinch in the presence of her unconcealed divine energy was impressive. Ageha was hyped for his brother and couldn't wait to raise him to be a fine lord. Romanov also let Ageha know that Hayaka doesn't normally manifest to humans, so the fact that she had done that and has been giving him guidance meant that she saw potential in him. He even went as far as to say that his singing talent is one that is seen once every century or two. Ageha suspected that she only took a liking to him because he sang songs from another world. Romanov could see that the heavy kid was doubting his statement and assumed that it was because he had never left the mansion before, so he didn't know how truly good his talent was compared to others. The tutor suggested they take a trip to the capital. He would get to experience the performance arts that their empire had to offer. Ageha wanted to take Regulus, but Romanov told him that he was too young to follow them this time around. The elf informed him that he would not have to worry about the expenses of the trip, but any souvenirs he wanted would have to come out of his own pocket. Ageha realized he didn't have any money. Romanov suggested that he embroider 5 handkerchiefs with the elven mark. They would take it somewhere to sell. The big boy felt like his tutor had planned his education to continue into the long term. The teacher revealed that elves can live for at least 2,000 years, so spending a decade being a tutor wasn't a problem for him. He even told Ageha he doesn't mind using 100 years tutoring him. The following day, the brothers went to the garden to learn from Genzo, the family gardener, where they picked some fruits and vegetables. Regulus enjoyed the berries his brother gave him. Genzo loved the way the siblings got along. He disclosed that he had grandsons who were around the same age as them, but they didn't get along very well. Ageha suggested that he bring them to the garden to help them learn how to work together. Genzo was grateful and commented on how the yield at the family garden was excellent. Their attention was drawn toward Regulus as he swung a twig. Ageha wondered how he would teach his brother swordsmanship. Genzo volunteered to be his tutor. He was an adventurer before he took up gardening, but he still stayed consistent with his daily practice sword swings. He was a well-respected adventurer in his prime. Ageha was happy to hear this and was excited that he found such a competent instructor. He later told Alice, and she revealed that the stories of his adventures are famous around the mansion. Genzo was forced to retire after getting severely injured while on a mission. He was then employed by the previous family head. Rottenmeier was also taken in after her family ransomed her off since they couldn't feed everyone in the family. Ageha had realized that there were no portraits around the mansion and concluded that family members didn't want to see each other's faces because they didn't like one another, so they had been put in storage. The kid was sure that this infighting is what has led to the Kikunoi family's decline. He thought that Alice would make a good spy given how she was able to get him to talk. She revealed that a good maid is supposed to have such skills so that they could be the eyes and ears of their master. Rottenmeier was the one who taught her this. They cut their conversation short when they realized that Regulus wanted to sleep. Ageha helped him sleep by singing a lullaby. Some days later, Regulus got upset because he wanted to follow his brother and Romanov to town. The boy had finished the 5 embroidered handkerchiefs and was perplexed when the teacher told him that they would be selling it at the Adventurers Guild. They arrived in town, and Ageha noticed how empty the place felt. Romanov let him know that the place is a lot busier at night because all the adventurers return. They went straight to Guildmaster Dominic's office. Ageha detected that he was being glared at. The master was surprised it didn't work, and it's disclosed that he tried to intimidate the boy with the pressure skill. Romanov allowed Dominic to try, knowing that it wouldn't work on Ageha. He insulted the guildmaster for trying to intimidate a child. Dominic and Romanov have been friends for a long time. He was exiled from the capital to Kikunoi because he messed up. Ageha introduced himself, and the guildmaster revealed that he spooked his dad with his pressure. but the boy was resistant to mental attacks. Romanov explained that the reason they didn't see it on the skill list was because that was a simplified version of his full status. Shrines and Adventurers Guild have a tool to view the full version. Also, those with the appraisal skill can see the information too. Romanov presented the handkerchiefs and said that they could double one's magic. Dominic took a closer look and stated that they rather quadrupled it. He couldn't believe that such an embroidery was put on a cheap cloth and wanted to know which master craftsman made it. The elf revealed that Ageha made them and suspected that the lad somehow gained another skill. Ageha promised that he wasn't aware of this. Dominic found it hard to believe that a little kid could produce such a thing. The boy opened his skills scroll and had two new special skills, which were Technique Mastery and Grace of Igor. Technique Mastery boosted the blue and green hand skills, and only true masters possessed it. The guild boss had Ageha sew an embroidery of a vine in front of him, and he did it flawlessly. Dominic confirmed the same boost effects, so he offered 2 gold coins for the handkerchief, which stunned Ageha. The guildmaster explained how significant the magic boost was with an example. If someone could only fire 1 fireball normally, they would be able to shoot 4 with the help of the handkerchief. The same theory applied to all aspects related to magic. It's also disclosed that boost items normally needed special materials and craftsman ability. He would have paid significantly more if Ageha used those materials. The lad could attain those resources by contracting adventurers to go get them. The boy was thinking of a way to turn this into an industry, but it wasn't scalable since it was skill-specific. He told Dominic of his plan to educate the masses to help support themselves and his younger brother. They also needed the adventurers to spend more money when they arrived in town. Dominic suggested they create unique and delicious meals that was native to their province. It would make them want to come back. The guildmaster recommended that one of the dishes needed to be protein-based, as that would give the adventurers the stamina to fight monsters. Ageha thought that a tonkatsu would be perfect, and was ready to start cooking. They went to see Fiore, who was a chef and innkeeper. He had the ingredients that Ageha might need to demonstrate the dish. The chef was skeptical about the kid's skill given his age. However, that soon vanished when he watched the knife skills and the other cooking techniques he used to create his tonkatsu dish. They tasted and loved the meal. Fiore bowed to Ageha and decided to address him as teacher going forward. The big boy told Fiore to share the recipe with the other shops around. They returned to the guild where Dominic paid them for the handkerchief. The boss even gave Ageha a tip as a thank you for sharing the recipe, and when the teacher-student duo returned home, the maids looked completely exhausted. Regulus gave them a tough time as he ran around the house upset that his big brother was not around. The only time he calmed down was during his swordsmanship training. After getting an update on the house, Ageha went to talk to Maurice to inform him about the recipe he shared with the Adventurers Guild. A couple of days later, he and Romanov set off to the capital. They got there instantly because the tutor used teleportation magic. They appeared in a study, and the first thing that Ageha observed was blank music sheets that littered the place. Romanov disclosed that they belonged to Victor, who was an elf known to be one of the best to ever play a musical instrument. The large lad was excited to meet him. They left the study room where they overheard him quarreling with someone in another room. Romanov entered with his student, and Victor was even more excited to meet Ageha. He wanted to hear him sing, but a red-headed girl in the background named Maria looked at the boy annoyed by the attention he was getting. Ageha formally introduced himself, and Romanov wanted to know who Maria was. Victor disclosed that she came over wanting him to teach her to sing, but he was not interested. But the arrival of Ageha had put him in a good mood, so he chose to give her a lesson. Maria wanted Victor to introduce her to his guests, and she started to fangirl when she learnt that she was in the presence of the hero. She was a bit taken aback when Victor told her to sing on the spot. He hoped it would not be a problem since she was a professional who was supposed to sing at the National Theater. She stepped up and sang on a high level which impressed Ageha and Romanov, but Victor knew that the lad heard her go off-key and was being nice. The tutor asked his student to sing so that he would also get feedback from Maria. Ageha came forward and sang one of the songs from his previous life, which Victor and Maria loved. Maria was so impressed that she invited him to come watch her perform at the National Theater. After seeing her become more friendly, Victor changed his mind and agreed to train her until the day of her performance. The real meeting begun as soon as she left. Victor was willing to start Ageha's singing lesson in 2 months' time. He didn't want any tuition, only that the lad got permission from Hayaka to allow him to write and perform the songs from another world. He already knew how to play the song he sang after one listen. Ageha was sure that the princess would give consent. The trio went to the market where the kid bought some spices in hopes to make curry when he returned home. They also passed by the shrine for their gods. Their statues were made using the description of people who had seen them. The statue of one of the heavenly beings named Hyoran lacked any detail because he was associated with death and rebirth. Those who saw him couldn't come back and give the description. They proceeded into the shrine where Ageha asked to see the statue of Igor. He had never directly interacted with the deity, yet he gave the lad his blessing. He manifested before Ageha as he was about to give an offering. He told him to keep it since it was the first money he made on his own. The bouncing boy showed respect and said that it was an honor to meet Igor. The deity told him to loosen up because he didn't like formalities. He explained that he gave Ageha his blessing because he saw potential in him. Throughout history, he had given his blessing to those who exhibited promise because such people push humanity forward. The so-called gods derived their power from the faith of living things, so the prosperity of humanity also increases their power. He took an embroidery bracelet from Ageha as an offering and told the boy that he gained the technique mastery skill because of the paper bird he made, which impressed Hayaka, who was a deity. Igor also advised him not to try and do everything by himself, but he should rather use the vast talents of Romanov and Victor to help make his vision come true. After Igor left, the two elves confirmed that they saw the interaction, and Victor confessed that it was his first time meeting a deity. He overheard Ageha talking about starting a music school to help him develop the skills needed to create a musical. The genius instrumentalist was more than willing to give his support, and it was time for the student-tutor duo to return home. Ageha promised Victor that he would come back to the capital when it was time for Maria's concert. The lad had brought everyone at the mansion the famous capital cookies as gifts. He later presented the spices he brought from the capital to Maurice. The head chef was amazed because he had never seen spices like that before. They were excited to use them to make the curry with rice because he told them that it was going to be their domain specialty. Ageha unpacked some of the other items he got from his trip before going to watch Regulus's training. He was worried that his little brother would get hurt as he was getting tossed around by Genzo, but Regulus refused to give up. The small boy got so worked up that he came in with a heavy blow that Genzo had to dodge. The reason became apparent when the strike broke the ground on impact. Regulus started crying because his hands hurt from the blow, and Ageha couldn't believe his eyes. The younger brother got some rest after a hard session. This gave Ageha time to make hairpins for him and his brother. They wore it on their next visit to Hayaka, and she was intrigued by them. She got annoyed at Ageha when he refused to give it to her as an offering. He explained that he only wanted to give her the best, so she should wait for the special one he intends to make. Hearing this quelled her anger, and she gave him her loom to use as material. She was a fashion icon in the heavens and wanted to stay ahead. Ageha asked for permission for Victor to use the music, and she was okay with it because it would help in the creation of musicals. She changed the topic when she remembered that she had information about Ageha's illness. She asked Hyorin, and he diagnosed it as soul separation disease. There was no cure, and the only way to prevent it from getting worse was for him to train his magic nerves, which in turn strengthened the connection between his body and soul. She told him that he had already been doing this when he focused on his magic nerves while singing. Hayaka wanted him to get better so that they could see the musicals together. Ageha informed the goddess that this might not be achieved in his lifespan, but all he can do is put in the groundwork and hope. Hayaka promised to capture his soul if he passed away, and keep it till humanity can make musical, so that they could enjoy it together. She also gave Regulus a sage peach to enjoy, and Ageha ended their visit with a song. They used the sage peach to make a sorbet when they got back home. Ageha gave everyone in the mansion some. Alice was the last to eat hers, and she enjoyed it, but almost had a heart attack when she found out that it was made with the sage peach. He recalled Romanov having the same reaction. The chubby lad saved some to give to Victor and Maria when he next went to the capital. He got to work on Hayaka's hairpin, and the brothers took it to her once it was completed. The goddess adored it. She also noticed that he had a smaller hairpin in his bag. Ageha told her that it was for Maria. He made it for her with the extra fabric. Hayaka started to tease him, but he informed her that she was way older and probably already had a fiancé. His daily meeting with the goddess came to an end. The tutor-student duo spent some more time at the mansion before going to the capital. Ageha gave Victor his sorbet, and he couldn't believe how delicious it was. They set off to see Maria, as it was her first day as a court singer. Until recently, she worked for the second prince, but now she represented the whole empire. Victor already checked to make sure that Ageha's parents were not in attendance. He speculated that either they didn't care about the arts, or they didn't want to attend, and people would think that they were in the second prince's faction. As soon as Ageha heard that there were factions for the crown and second prince, he knew that there was a power struggle going on. Romanov assured the boy that it was okay for him to go, because they were going as Victor's guests. The two elves were imperial knights, but made it clear that they wouldn't get involved with the nation's succession struggles. The trio got to the performance venue, and Ageha was in awe of the decoration. They climbed up the stairs to Maria's dressing room, and the lad was exhausted because he was out of shape. They all rushed to Maria's room when they heard a scream. Her maid explained that she drank some water that was sent by the second prince. He always did this, so the maid never suspected a thing. Victor checked her and confirmed that Maria had been poisoned. It wasn't anything fatal, but it burnt her throat. He also located the person responsible and told Romanov to inform the guards. The tutor returned to report that the culprit silenced himself forever. This meant that it was planned. Fortunately, the poison was removed from her system, but Victor didn't want to use magic to force the wound to close as it could cause permanent complications. Ageha remembered he had the sage peach sorbet. He fed some to her to try and soothe the pain, but it ended up not only healing her, but made her feel better than before she was poisoned. Victor almost fainted when he learnt that the sorbet was made with the sage peach. The maid rushed in with the doctor and was amazed to see Maria healed. She was so grateful to the lad. Maria finished her preparations and was ready to surprise her saboteurs. Ageha gave her the hair clip he made for her, and she promised to treasure it. The elves told him that the hairpin he just gave Maria boosts magic and gave immunity to status effects. They had their way to their seats and could hear the chatter about Maria being poisoned. The fact that it had spread so quickly meant that someone was pushing the narrative. They were worried that the perpetrators might try something else, but Maria came out and gave a perfect performance without any incident. This cemented her as the Empire's greatest singer. Her dressing room was full of adoring nobles after her show. Ageha didn't want to interrupt, so he penned a letter to be given to her. He also told Victor that the goddess gave him permission to write music to the other world songs so that they could be performed. He was so happy to hear this. The student-teacher duo ended their trip, but they learnt a lot and had fun. Ageha went back to his normal schedule as he went to meet Hayaka. She berated him for not taking care of himself because he looked so exhausted. The lad explained that he didn't want to smother Regulus as they slept. The goddess changed the topic and wanted an update on what happened with Maria and the hairpin. Ageha told her about the poisoning and how the sage peach sorbet saved her. The lad thought that she was disappointed that he shared it. The goddess explained that the sage peach was considered by humans to give immortality, but it only had the ability to cure the most fatal wound and bring out one's hidden potential. The fruit was so precious to humans that friend and family have eliminated each other because of it. The goddess was not upset that he shared it, but impressed that he would give such a precious thing to someone else. She apologized for underestimating his generosity, but she advised him to increase his knowledge of the world so that bad people couldn't take advantage of his naivety. The fact that this hasn't happened yet was testament to how good the people around him were. She advised him to rely on them and treasure them. He later sat with Romanov to discuss in more detail about the things that has affected his life. The boy learnt that Rottenmeier was so worried when he first fell ill and prayed for his recovery so that they could have a second chance to make him an outstanding noble. The talk ended with Romanov telling him to live his life, making more people happy than sad. Ageha later walked with Rottenmeier, who finally expressed how she truly felt. She pled with him to take care of himself because she didn't want to watch him battle sickness again. Ageha took her hand and thanked her for being there for him. He hoped that she would continue her support. One night, Victor's sleep was interrupted when Lara sent one of her familiars to pester him till he agreed to introduce her to Ageha because she needed to speak to him. Back at the mansion, they finally created the curry. They even made a sweet version for kids. The lad gave the recipe to Fiore, and the people loved it so much that more adventurers started staying in their town. Ageha was just happy to see that things were getting better for Kikunoi. One day he was in the garden when he was told that he had a visitor. Victor had finally brought Lara to meet him. She was the final member of the trio of elves that are known for liking humans. She came to see Ageha and had a letter of introduction from Maria. The lad read it and was happy to hear that she was doing well, and people loved her hairpin. Lara used to be Maria's teacher when she was younger. Like Ageha, she was a chubby girl who lacked the confidence to sing in front of others. She helped her lose weight through dancing and etiquette training, but her father showed her to the masses before Lara could teach her how to be humble. The compliments regarding her beauty got to her head. That was why she was so arrogant when they first met her. Lara had not seen her student in 5 years, and was relieved to have finally heard from her. She wanted Lara to use her training to help Ageha lose his weight. This will also help him in social situations when he got older. As a noble, he would need to dance and move with grace, but Ageha felt like he had enough time to sort that out. Romanov came out and said that he was incredibly out of shape. This triggered him to start his training with Lara that same day. The siblings went to see the goddess again, where Ageha informed her of his etiquette training. Lara heard about his musical dreams and felt like teaching him to dance would also help him direct the actors better. Hayaka started to see the results of his new training and commented on his slender look. She also liked the fact that it would bring them closer to creating the musical. The goddess wanted to show Victor some gratitude for his hard work on the music sheets. She gave Ageha the flute of the first elf to be given to the genius instrumentalist. The boys returned to find the 3 elves making compost in the garden. Genzo's eldest grandson rudely asked Ageha to identify himself. The old man rushed and apologized on his behalf since he didn't know who he was. Kanade also said sorry when he realized his mistake and introduced himself. Genzo explained he ran away from home after another fight with his parents, so he's looking after him for now. The lad was okay with him staying for as long as he needed, and the siblings excused themselves to go warm up. Kanade decided to join them, where Ageha told him to practice his manners. Otherwise, people would call him rude. He accepted the advice and started to talk about little brothers. Ageha guessed that his brother made him mad. Kanade disclosed how he got blamed for everything, even if it was his little sibling's fault. But Ageha remarked on how he loved his younger brother. This prompted Kanade to explain what happened. His bro broke his wooden dog, but his parents blamed him for leaving it out and said nothing to his younger sibling. Ageha got angry at the injustice and stated that his younger brother should have also gotten corrected for spoiling the toy. Kanade felt better that someone saw things from his perspective. He calmed Ageha down by suggesting they cook some yams. The kid remembered a campfire song from his past life, while Genzo prepared to light up the fire they would use to cook the food. It exploded into roaring flames as Ageha sang for the flames to burn bright. Everyone was stunned. The elves felt magic flooding out of him. Ageha said that all he did was sing, but Romanov let him know that his songs have the same effect as magical incantations. He needed to learn magic now that this had been established. Kanade and Regulus also wanted to learn. Victor found their enthusiasm to be cute. Ageha recalled the present the goddess told him to deliver. He pulled Victor to the side and gave him the flute. The instrumentalist knew exactly what it was when he saw it. He almost burst into tears that the goddess would give him something that precious. He was so happy that he said he'd help the boy with whatever he wanted. The lad cashed in that favor there and then by asking the elf to teach Regulus and Kanade magic. He agreed, and the young singer was ecstatic to have such a tutor, because he was known to be one of the world's best magicians. Kanade returned home, but came to stay with his granddad once every 3 days and was in the mansion for his classes with Victor. And just like that, the noble siblings just got a new friend. The seasons passed, and the place started to get colder because winter was coming. Ageha made a neck warmer for Regulus to combat the cold. Victor noted that it had cold resistance. The large boy decided to make all his younger brother's winter clothes so that his father wouldn't have to buy them for him since he was in debt. Victor speculated that Ageha had a talent for enchantment magic, which was the skill of adding an effect to a person or object. He demonstrated this by making Kanade strong enough to lift Regulus with ease. Their lesson was interrupted when Lara came with a letter from Maria. Everyone gathered while Ageha opened it. The Empress really liked the hairpin he made and wanted one for herself. Lara was sure that other noble ladies would want one. The kid understood that fashion trends start with the upper classes and move down. If this got popular, he could create a fashion industry for the Kikunoi province, but he needed patent law to protect his inventions and craftsmanship. But he didn't have knowledge about law. At that moment, Igor dropped down with a solution. He also wanted Ageha to make a hairpin for him. He could get him material that was just as good as Hayaka's robe. The boy was grateful, but he felt like the timing was too perfect. Igor revealed that he had given his grace to another noble in their country, and he was a fan of the hairpin. Ageha didn't want another noble to have it as he wanted to use it to jumpstart their economy. He was now starting to wonder if Maria's request was genuine. Igor asked him not to get suspicious, otherwise it would just complicate things. He assured the boy that his guy is not someone he needed to be afraid of. He was the second son of a duke who was trying to put together a law that would protect the rights of craftsmen. He was looking for something to apply it to, and saw Ageha's hairpin as the perfect product. He went to the Empress for help. Their plan was to register his craft as protected under the new law as a reward for giving her the hairpin. According to Igor, the second son of the Duke was just like Ageha. He believed that the common people needed to be empowered for the nation to reach the next level, so he would never steal Ageha's work. The kid was a lot more comfortable after hearing this and made the deal with Igor. He promised to have the materials ready for him soon. He was even going to have the Duke's son tell the Emperor and Empress about the Kikunoi family. The young singer told him not to, otherwise his parents would steal everything. He had the idea of creating a company to protect his assets. He would train the people of his domain to become craftsmen and hire more locals to do office work when the company got bigger. His only issues were getting the funds. The elves decided to invest by giving him that startup capital. Igor mentioned that the Duke's son had his memories from his previous life. Ageha was happy to hear that there were others out there like him. He wanted to find out if he was from the same period and country as him. So he gave Igor a bottle of curry powder and the instruction on how to make it in both this world's language and in Japanese. The lad was hoping that they could work together. He also decided to name his company Effet Papillon, which is a garage name if you ask me. The young singer collapsed after the deity left because he used too much of his memories. He woke up and was given a face massage by Lara to relax him. Regulus came in after, and Lara loved the neck warmer he had on. She disclosed that she was an adventurer, and that would keep her perfectly warm as she fought, so he should add it to his company's inventory. Romanoff and Rottenmeier had a meeting with Ageha. They warned him that his venture could put him in danger because it disrupted the status quo. Some powerful nobles look down on commoners and feel like they need to stay below them. Just the thought of them prospering would anger them enough to attack the boy. The elves could protect him a little by making it clear that they were aligned with the young singer. Regulus was upset that Ageha was losing weight because he was not as mushy, but he was told that his older brother getting slimmer would keep him healthy. Kinnaid was also eager to help, but Ageha told him that studying is the best thing he could do for the cause, because his success would inspire others to follow suit. He later went to inform Hayaka on what happened. She was upset that Igor made direct contact. She relaxed and gave him the cloth Igor prepared. She told them that she would not be coming down to see them till the following spring. The boys were sad, so she painted a protection spell on them. She revealed that even demon lords would stay away, but it can't protect those around him. The evil humans would seek to stop him by attacking the weak ones around him. The goddess was sure that the 3 elves would help the boy. She gave him her protective blade till next spring in hopes he would never have to unsheath it. Ageha thanked her for all the gifts and sent her off with a song.